about five major ways that understanding cultural and emotional emotions and effective communication and resolving conflicts, which are very essential for effective leadership. And there are papers that have connected cultural and emotional intelligence to productivity and effective productivity and efficiency in the workplace are rooted in feedback. For emotional intelligence, talked about empathy, active conflict resolution, relationship management, and motivation. We gave some examples of women who have succeeded in leadership over the years using cultural and emotional intelligence. And the key points of this paper are that leadership is very similar to terrain, and there have been several efforts to define their status in the leadership arena system. Progress has been made, but the challenges are still to come on. Thus, women are grossly underrepresented in investment. Leadership skills. Leadership requires skill. And for women to succeed and pave way for more women, they have to come here. Cultural intelligence are two important skills needed to prepare women for the huge task of effective leadership within the university setting in Nigeria. Our recommendation, trainings and research on cultural
and walked out of this place. I think if there's anything, these are three exceptional presenters. Let's give them another round of applause. Because of the nexus of emotional and cultural intelligence. It's difficult to see some of these things when you are a man. Because basically this is a man's world. That's what they are looking at, the whole idea of the patriarchy. Using it as a... One of the things that I think has come out of this last presentation is that if you look at the problems, the fact that we have gender policies all over, we have gender centers all over, that the problems are still there at a very cultural, deep level, at the level of mindset, in terms of stereotypes, and so on. But that women need to come prepared for leadership positions. And if they do this, they can do this with training. A lot of trainings that are...
I believe there should be focus on gender, that is leadership of women in leadership. There's no doubt about that.
As a woman, and that is what you need for leadership. We do not need to train women for leadership.
o'clock in the morning to 5 o'clock in the evening. But you can decide to be there by yourself, just like any other man can be there. So I don't think there's anything restricting a female vice chancellor in terms of work hours or work schedule. I more research on that. I can tell you authoritatively that some of us can run a meeting for several hours as women. We can run Senate meetings up to several hours. And one time, there was a time we had a meeting, Senate meeting, from 10 a.m. to 11 p.m. And I can tell you most of the men were dozing. And I wasn't budging. They will go out and complain and come back. So it is not about that the working hours or the work schedule is not suitable for women. It is what suitable for us that works for. Thank you.
Thank you. Your rank and your status determines how much of effect you feel on your gender in the system. And I think that's one of the things. If you are at the lower level, you don't control much. So there is a need for some policies that will ensure that people are not disadvantaged on the basis of their gender. I had a personal experience and asking me to do things. One day, one of my senior colleagues, a male, called me into his office. He said, "Francis, I'm very disappointed in you. Why are you following a woman like that, an ordinary woman?" That was the first day I realized that that person was a woman. I just thought of the person as my boss who grew up under strong women, mothers and grandmothers. you never see the distinction until somebody points out to you that this is a woman. So there are stereotypes, and there are people like that, and the system to protect against such brutality. I think that's part of the point that you people are trying to make. So the very last question or comment, and then we'll give you an opportunity to respond.
Thank you very much. My name is Bidemi Bilkis Lafiajo Kuneye, the Vice Chancellor of Lagos State University of Education, Oto Ijanikin. My own is also to add to what others have said. Like a previous statement that women multitask. There's no other human that can multitask as much as women do. Yes, you asked about gender and feminism, and I was just passing a side comment that why would you put her on the hot seat asking about what is the difference between gender and feminism? What she has presented is to showcase women the authority as against what the man can do. A woman will get less distraction when she's in a position of authority. What I mean by distraction is having to cope with the other gender. The woman will have less distraction concerning the other gender, if everyone agrees with me. Then lastly, I want to say that for women, we are better administrators because we wear different togas. The toga of a mother.
To draw a distinction between feminism and gender is because sometimes what we are reacting against is not about gender equity. We are reacting against our interpretation of feminism and the feminist theories. Anyway, we will give them an opportunity to respond. So let's start from the first presenter.
I want to say something on feminism and gender. Gender is not about women, neither is feminism about women. Gender is just the distinction between male and female according to societal representation or ascribed roles. When you come to sex, but society frowns at that. You will see some places when they see the man, whereas feminism is the philosophy.
Are better mentors. And I can also say the female leaders have a way of closing this gender gap of whether you're a man or a woman. Why? Because there is inclusion. They're able to bring everybody to work together because of how fair they are. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think the sum of it is, according to Achebe, let the vulture perch, let the eagles perch. Basically, let everybody have equal opportunity without any problems, without any obstructions. Now for the men, I want to appeal to the Association of Vice Chancellors of Nigerian University that during your 70th anniversary, you should do something for men too. Thank you very much. A round of applause.
Thank you very much, Prof. That was a good end note. I'm sure there's always something for the men, so it never takes anything away to have a special reservation for women. Thank you so much to everyone who's contributed to this. We'll try to make the presentation, the papers available offline and soft copies as well. If you require them, please just contact one of the ushers for directives. Thank you so much. Quickly would like to move to the next panel session, which is the responsibility, sustainability, and sustainable development goals by the SDG. This panel will be chaired by Professor Ladi Hamalai. Prof. She in the room?
Any volunteer, if it's not here?
Members of this panel would include Dr. Igodala Cole, Dr. Mary Onoja Alexander, and Dr. Ugiomo Erutea.
Sorry, Mary Onoja is being replaced by another person.
Okay, please come forward. If that part of the research that was done, or women being aggressive researchers, are actually very accurate. So this session we're going to be looking at the responsibility and sustainability development goals of the SDG, and how this can be implemented within the Nigerian university space. I'd like to invite you to introduce yourself and the topic you'll be discussing on this particular perspective.
I am Dr. Hope Imoitian Igbodala Cole.
Closer to your mouth.
I think that's loud enough. Okay. I'm sure they can hear me. I'm Dr. Hope Imoitian Igbodala Cole. I'm a lecturer from Bingham University from the Department of Sociology. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for that. And following in the process of the last session, we'll give each person 10 minutes to speak on their respective topics, and then we'll have a general discussion, including the audience. So we'll start with you, ma'am.
Thank you, Sean, and its impact on gender mainstreaming for workplace equality in Nigeria. Talking about C190, people have always asked me, what is C190? The International Labour Organization Convention number 190, also known as on the impact of gender stereotypes on implicit and explicit attitude in this course of this research, showed to us that some male victims of sexual violence, such that they are not able to even express their own side of the story or be fair enough to bring it out because of the trivialization and the stereotype against them according to or as a result of our custom and because of the patriarchal society we find ourselves. That makes it very important for gender mainstreaming to come on board. Then what is gender mainstreaming? Gender mainstreaming is an inclusive strategy that takes into consideration the requirements and conditions of all end users, male and female alike, which is important given that we have more women in our society than men, and we are in a society that is patriarchal, which gives men more power However, that is why our emphasis is on the female. So this study analyzes gender mainstreaming for workplace equality in Nigeria, considering the implication of our Convention 190 ratification. That the Nigerian Constitution explicitly prohibits discrimination against women. Gender disparity still exists, as we found out and as we all know. This is typically caused by the cultural and religious customs, gender stereotypes, patriarchal society, as the case is, our low educational standards, and all its likes. So, but a labor convention like the 190, that's Convention 190, which prioritizes gender equality and fostering inclusive workplace environments, are leveling the playing field and assisting women in advancing in all fields where they have traditionally been marginalized. Hence, today we can see the result from the female vice chancellors we have in our midst in terms of this sector and other areas where we have women, including the gender perspective into all policies, programs, and activities. In Nigeria and in mainstreaming for gender equality in the workplace while examining the adherence of C-190. Feminist theory is a sociological theory that focuses on gender mainstreaming to achieve gender equality. It acknowledges the role of social institutions, power dynamics, and cultural norms in perpetuating gender inequality. To achieve gender equality, feminist theory emphasizes the need to remove structural obstacles and change cultural views and behaviors. Gender mainstreaming and laws like C-190 are crucial instruments for combating and reversing systemic violence and discrimination faced by women in workplace, as the case is. Methodologically, we had the secondary source of data collection, which we were compelled to do because of certain factors that compelled us to do that. We looked at several newspapers, books, journals, and other official documents to extract information and facts so that we can be able to put this investigation together. Analysis and findings. It was found out that gender mainstreaming and Convention 190 are interconnected. They are interconnected strategies for promoting gender equality and addressing workplace violence and harassment. Businesses, governments, and every other institution has been asked, or rather encouraged, to develop a safer, more welcoming workplace by integrating these strategies into their policies and programs. Government should encourage gender perspective mainstreaming in policies and programs. In conclusion, progress has been made in formulation and implementation of policies, specifically in Nigeria, to foster workplace equality and gender mainstreaming. But difficulties still exist due to our cultural resistance, due to insufficient resources, and due to limited awareness of the need for gender to be, for the female gender to at least be given a right as human in the same society. Consistent effort by the government, employers, civil society, and international organizations are much required, just like what the CVCNU is doing at the moment. The implication is that Nigeria's endorsement of the International Law Organization, that's the ILO Convention on Violence and Harassment, implies that the nation is committed to advancing workplace equality and eliminating gender-based violence and harassment going forward. By incorporating C-190 principles into national legislation, Nigeria will create a legal framework to protect workers, particularly women, from violence and harassment, fostering a safer and more inclusive work environment. Our recommendations. At the end of this study, we came up with certain recommendations, just 4 of them. 1, there is need for workers' union, groups such as the NUC, the Nigerian Labour Congress, the TUC, the Trade Union Congress, to conduct researches and gather data on the correlation between gender equality and social economic development, highlighting the positive impact of gender into all our policies. There is also need for organizations and government to develop educational campaigns and awareness programs, just like what we are doing right now, that emphasize the importance of gender equality as a fundamental human right, involving both male
and female. There is also need for workers' union and government to conduct comprehensive evaluation of the implementation of the Convention 119 in Nigeria, assessing its impacts on workplace equality and gender mainstreaming initiatives. And finally, there is need for workers' union and government to evaluate the extent to which gender mainstreaming concepts are integrated into all policies, all procedures, and training programs related to preventing and addressing workplace violence and harassment in Nigeria. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for taking just 10 minutes.
We'd like to hear from the next speaker. As usual, we'll hear from them, and then we'll take questions and contributions.
Go ahead, ma'am.
My topic is on spousal defies and coping mechanism with children living with spina bifida. I'll start by saying that what exactly is spina bifida and how is it related to caring for children with spina bifida. Spina bifida is an alteration of spine behind every infant. Like the spine works as shock absorber. It works as that body that constrains nutrients for the brain and for the child. And also, this spina bifida also works as a nutritional value for the children. And once there's defect of this, it affects the child, and the child becomes handicapped, and the care comes within the both couples. So I'll state by giving out the background what spina bifida is all about. Spina bifida is relatively common defect among infants in which an area of spine column does not function properly, and this becomes a problem. At the end of the day, there's always gender segregation on who to care for these children, how to care for the children, and how to go about caring for children. Then the stressor is more a difficult task for women caring for these children. You can imagine a woman who works as a banker that also needs to care for children with spina bifida. Also, this works with children with hydrocephalus is always trained and becomes the problem of the woman in the house. Then also, as a result of medical emotional stress in coping with these children, finding will also contribute to the methodological aspect of research on spousal defies coping with children with spina bifida. So research methodology study basically is a collection of different analysis, mixed method, and the location for this study is in Lagos State. The research design is descriptive and cross-sectional. The study population for this study are caregivers, spouse, and whosoever cares for these children with spina bifida. So the variables where I decide to work on I believe model in this aspect talking about the passive susceptibility, passive severity, passive barrier, benefits, and key to action. I would like to talk about the passive barrier. It becomes a problem when the woman cares for the child all alone. Because woman stands as a point that she alone cares for this child. Taking the child from one spot to another, hospital to another, it becomes a very serious aspect for this to care for the child. Then the category of people we tend to that we investigate this topic on are adults above 60 and from 38 downward. Then 20 years above as well. So the interview section, there's some aspects that the women that we interviewed, they were like, they don't really have awareness of what spina bifida is all about. And spina bifida also can occur when properly care is not being taken when the woman is pregnant and problem. So the awareness of this is very low. So I would say in conclusion that there is a high prevalence of spina bifida in our society. If you go to youth, we have many of these children there. If you go to Lagos State Teaching Hospital in Lagos, we have much of these students there, children there. Then also, there's low knowledge of spina bifida, even among spouses. It should be something that should be publicized for couples to know about, because once there is infection in a woman before getting married, this can result to spina bifida, and it becomes a problem for the couples. Then also, there's low knowledge about the issue of spina bifida itself. The woman utilizes different mechanisms, but when it comes to Western drug to administer on these children, it's highly expensive and becomes spousal problem as well in the society. Then there is spousal conflict on decision making. The woman will say, let's go to a traditional health center. The man says, no, it's the Western society that will be able to do it right, and becomes a problem for this union. Then I will conclude, I will also